Hey, Chester Hoonhorst here from your, sorry for the fly in my way, from your Business Communications OL2 course. And today I'm going to be presenting my report on the speculation of climate change and its recent spurring. Now, some things that I wanted to accomplish in writing this report were the answers to these three questions. The first one is, what is causing this rapid climate change that we're seeing now? What's the source of the problem? Second one is, what are some consequences that could happen because of this? What's going to happen if we continue to let our planet warm up? The third and final question is, what are some potential solutions to the problems that we are facing now regarding climate change? Hopefully I'll be able to answer all those three questions enough for you guys to be satisfied today. Now, for the first point, what is causing our planet to warm up? We're going to have to look back at Earth's past atmosphere and climate. And as we do that, I want to look at two things that are talked about a lot today that I think people don't really have the right perspective on. First one being climate change. The subject to my report, right? Climate change is completely natural. It's a good thing. It's supposed to happen. That's what our planet is supposed to do. That's how it survives. You know, if a new type of organism pops up in the planet, it's going to have an effect on the planet. And that effect is going to affect something else, which causes something else to react, and something else reacts to that, which causes another reaction. And you can probably see where I'm going with this. So really, climate change is pretty much the Earth adapting itself to its inhabitants, if you think about it. Now, the second point was greenhouse gases that I wanted to talk about. Those are talked about a lot today, and I think put in a negative perspective for the most part. Greenhouse gases are also natural, and you know what? They can be a good thing too. They can also be a bad thing, just like many things in this world. It can be good or bad. It's how you use it. So, for these greenhouse gases, there's carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitrates, and sulfuric oxides, I believe, was the last main big one. There are some more, but those are the main ones. And really the biggest ones out of those are carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide. So this graph that I have in the corner here shows the concentration of carbon dioxide in our Earth's atmosphere throughout its past. Now this graph covers about 1 billion years, and it reads a little funky too. It starts on the right and goes to the left. So it's not like a normal graph, but bear with me. So you can see in the way past, up until about 400 million years is that dip, our atmosphere had plenty of carbon dioxide in it. A lot, high amount, very high amount. And as we approach today, like I said, at that 400 million year mark, 400 million years ago, it came down significantly and has stayed pretty much in the ballpark of where it's at up until today. And like I was saying, reads from right to left. So that little corner, that bottom left corner, that is supposed to be where we are at right now in this point in time. And as you can see, that's very, very low compared to what it has been in the past. Now, like I said, it can be a good thing or a bad thing. And as I was saying earlier, with the planet adapting to its inhabitants, which is basically what climate change is, the planet is adapting to us basically right now. That's what this climate change is that we're experiencing. The Earth is trying to find a way to deal with us affecting its environment and trying to find a way to still live and survive. Now, what is happening? What are some consequences of this climate change? Well, aside from the rise in temperature, one of the obvious things is it's going to melt the ice caps. And we have seen already that the ice caps are shrinking very, very fast. In fact, in the past 40 years, 40% of the Arctic ice caps have disappeared. Well, not disappeared if you know anything about the water cycle, but I'll talk about that in a minute. But yes, the polar ice caps have shrunk by about 40% in the past 40 years. It's 1% a year. That's very, very rapid. Now, one of the effects that the melting of these ice caps has is obviously habitat loss for whatever animals live there. You know, polar bears, penguins, Arctic fox, Arctic hare, you know, all the up north creatures. But another thing aside from the habitat loss is it's going to cause sea levels to rise, which is what I was talking about, to where the ice caps don't per se disappear, they just move. Now, when these ice caps melt, the water runs off into the ocean, and wouldn't you know, it makes the ocean rise because more water's going into it. And this could be a big problem for humans and other inhabitants of the earth as well in the coming years. I mean, cities like New Orleans was devastated because of Hurricane Katrina, mainly because it's below sea level. Like literally, the city of New Orleans is in elevation lower than where the sea's at. So if the sea's up here, New Orleans down here, and they just got a wall holding the sea back. That doesn't bode well over time if sea levels continue to rise. In other cities, say Venice, Italy, that has been sinking constantly, as we know as well. You know, the waters just keep getting higher. So that's one big effect that climate change is having on us right now. That's not even a potential problem. That is a real problem that we're facing right now. Now, another problem that could be brought about from this is harmful and polluted air. And yes, I say polluted. I know I'm not focusing on the subject of pollution or climate change, but pollution is a factor in climate change, especially in the atmosphere. And cities in China, northern China, in their winter, they experience harsh times of smog. Not fog, but smog. That's dangerous, essentially poisonous air that has carcinogens in it that its people breathe. And well, hopefully they don't. Obviously, you can see the girl in the picture has a mask on, which that's just awful. Imagine having to live your life, you know, at your home, your hometown, having to wear a mask because you can't even breathe the air outside. That's just awful. And the reason why they're wearing the mask is, like I said, it's poisonous. It's smog. You can't breathe it in. It's gonna, over time, smog will inflict very serious heart and lung diseases on whoever breathes it. And that's pretty much evidence that humans are killing ourselves now. That's not putting it nicely, but because of human actions, because of our pollution and our ignorance to our world, we're seeing results like this: poisonous air flooding into cities and causing its inhabitants to suffer. I don't want this for the world, and I don't think the rest of the world wants this either. So, what are some solutions to this? Well, the first solution is obviously clean, renewable energy. We have many ways of going about gathering this today. First, solar, obviously, or solar. Yes, solar energy is gathered from the sun using solar panels. It absorbs the light and converts it into energy. Now, the wind turbine on there is a great example of, I forget the scientific name for them, but wind-powered electricity. You know, the wind blows and spins the blade, and that generates electricity, and that's completely emission-free. It doesn't hardly cost us anything except the cost to set up that turbine, and we don't put out any harmful chemicals in the air from gathering energy through this method. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Well, and there's other ways of gathering renewable clean energy as well. Hydroelectricity, which uses water flow to push generators around to generate electricity as well. There's plenty of ways to go about getting energy cleanly. The thing is, it's not as effective as getting energy dirty. If you know what I mean by dirty. Like coal power is and natural gas, it's so much easier to use than trying to gather energy through renewable methods like this. But that comes with the downsides, the emissions, which is poisoning our planet. Now, the second way to help with this problem is regulations. And, regulations are good. Regulations, I mean by regulating the amount of emissions that power companies can put out, into the atmosphere. Or maybe it wouldn't even have to be a power company, maybe just emissions that anybody can put out, like per person, But regulations would help, but only if we are continuing to use resources that give us energy but also produce harmful emissions. Because if we didn't have any harmful emissions, we wouldn't need regulations, right? Well, anyway, the next part, recycling. That will help our planet a lot. Do you know how many plastic water bottles, little chunks of plastic or polymers or metals are just sitting out there in the wild, floating in the ocean, just polluting it? It's unreal. I don't really know per se exactly how much is out there, but I got a pretty good guess, and that's not good. And recycling, by doing that, we don't have to put energy into producing new resources like plastic. Like, we can just keep reusing it. And even paper. Paper can be recycled. So if we recycle our paper, we might not have to cut down so many trees. And the trees are what takes in carbon dioxide and gives out oxygen. So, really, when you think of it, the only two true solutions to this, and I say true as in the things that will actually change our Earth, I believe, are education and effort. We need to educate not only young people. I mean, yes, we need to definitely focus on young people because they're our future, but we need to educate everybody about the problems that we have and how to solve them. Because you can't do anything about a problem if you don't even know what it is, right? The first step in solving a problem is recognizing the problem. And the last part, I said education and effort. It's going to take effort. It's not going to be easy at all. No way. But that's what it's going to take for us to beat this curse that we've left upon ourselves. So, in summary, what is causing this climate change? Humans are, with all our harmful emissions and byproducts and wastes and wasteful attitudes. We caused this. We brought this upon ourselves. We have to recognize that. What are some potential consequences that could happen? A real consequence is melting ice caps, destruction of habitat for creatures and humans alike. Rising sea levels, melting ice caps. And another consequence that we're experiencing now is harmful air. Our air is becoming harmful to breathe because of the pollution from emissions and just from the water cycle as well. The water that evaporates is tainted, and that goes up in the sky and pollutes it even more. The last question, what are some solutions to the problem that we're facing? I truly believe that the two real solutions are education and effort. I really think that is what is going to turn our planet around for us. So, the moral of the story, please enlighten someone on this subject. You don't have to give them the long speech like I gave you, but if you could just get someone thinking about it, that's a victory. You know, if you can get someone to be more conscious about it, that's a victory. You have to be conscious about a problem before you can put in effort to solve it. So I think once our planet realizes that this is a real problem, and once we put forth that effort, I think we're going to see real drastic change, and I think it's going to be a good thing, actually. I have high hopes for the future. Thanks for listening. Chet out.